no helicopters have been procured for me to go to golf course. Thank you.
I've never said he wasn't a great politician. I'm just saying he's a officer.
It's supposed to be an interview.
How'd you play out there today?
Well, I found the conditions challenging, mostly because there's no grass on the golf course, but there never has been.
I'm thinking about the swag bag, and I had high hopes for the swag bag.
When you got 3 crevices on the green, your course is trash.
Welcome back, Beltway Golfer Podcast, episode 50. It's a big one. Just passed our 2-year mark of starting the podcast a couple of days ago on June 12th. And now we've got a big episode, number 50. That's exciting in and of itself. But also we did it at Congressional Country Club. First on-site taping at Congressional Country Club, the venue that has hosted more major championship golf, more PGA Tour golf than any other venue in this area. And they're about to have a big couple weeks. The KPMG Championship is coming to town June 23rd to June 26th. This is the first of a few podcasts we're putting together for the event. We've got our media credentials for the week. We're going to be out there all week covering it. If you aren't aware, Congressional Country Club signed a deal with PGA of America to host 8 championships over the course of the next 15 years, culminating with the Ryder Cup in 2036. This is the first of those. Just a couple of years ago, Congressional Country Club went through a major renovation of the blue course. And this week coming up, the KPMG Championship is going to be the first time on national television. So it's a big deal. For this week's episode, we've got Jason Epstein, who is the Director of Golf and Athletics over at Congo. And it's the first of a few. So we're super excited. We talk a lot about the renovation. We talk a lot about the championship. We talk a lot about the history of Congressional, because there's a ton. It's just really cool. We couldn't be more excited. This week, coincidentally, the U.S. Open up in Brookline is the 25th anniversary of the U.S. Open in 1997, where Ernie Els won at Congressional. So that's pretty cool in itself. But this week is Advance Week, where club officials, players, grounds crew, KPMG, PGA of America are all getting ready for next week's event. So it's a big week. And excited to play a very, very teensy role here by bringing you a conversation with Director of Golf, Jason Epstein. Let's get to the interview. But of course, first, 2 quick words from the sponsors of the Beltway Golfer Podcast. First, Fore Craft Cocktails, Fore Craft Cocktails. You can find them at forecraftcocktails.com. It is a pre-mixed transfusion in a can. Premium vodka, ginger ale, grape juice, lime juice. Incredibly refreshing for drinking on the course or off. Go to their website, they've got a location finder. You can pick them up at any Total Wine and Beverage, certainly in Northern Virginia, a lot of green grass facilities. Seek them out. forecraftcocktails.com, locally owned business based in Richmond, Virginia, produced in Baltimore, Maryland, a small business, the kind of business you really want to support. And by supporting Fore Craft Cocktails, you are supporting this podcast. Also, our second sponsor for this episode is Golden Horseshoe Golf Club, part of Colonial Williamsburg. Straight down I-95, head east on I-64 to Colonial Williamsburg, and right in the heart of it is 45 holes of golf. The Gold Course, designed by Robert Trent Jones, went through a renovation in 2017 and is currently in the top 50 of public courses in the country that you can play by Golf Digest. Some of the best par 3s you're ever going to. But they also got the green course, 18 more holes, and a little 9-holer, Spotswood, which is really fun as well. But it's all walkable to Colonial Williamsburg. Busch Gardens is right there. They've got all kinds of stay-in plays that'll fit every budget. 5 different lodging options. Go check out Golden Horseshoe Golf Club if you haven't. It's a great place to spend a weekend, an overnight, or a few days. Golden Horseshoe Golf Club. That's it. Let's get to the interview with Jason Epstein, Director of Golf and Athletics at a Congressional Country Club. And be sure to stick it on your calendar, June 23rd to June 26th at Congressional Country Club. Enjoy.
All right, we are out here at
the venerable Congressional Country Club with Jason Epstein. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great, Alex. Great to be here with you.
Absolutely. Well, first off, thank you very much for taking the time. I'm joining you here on a Friday, and I didn't realize that you guys are in the middle of a big member tournament.
Yeah, our biggest tournament of the year, our President's Cup. 250 members. This event sells out in about 30 seconds with another 100-something go to the wait list, so we're trying to figure out that, but it's an exciting couple days for us, for the membership. It's a big party, so it's a fun time. It's a big celebration of the membership in Congressional, so it's pretty cool.
That's cool. Well, I appreciate you. It's obviously a busy weekend and busy time for Congressional. We're a few weeks away from the, is it fair to call it Congressional's coming out party on national television?
Yeah, the first of 9 major championships as part of our agreement with the PGA of America. And we couldn't be more excited to be hosting, and the first one being the KPMG Women's Championship, giving back to women's golf, championship we've never hosted. And it's something that has really picked up and grown over the past few years. We are so excited, the membership's so excited. All of our member tickets sold out. We released more, they all sold out. We've got more volunteers than we had spots for. We've got volunteers on a waiting list. Our corporate hospitality is met our goals and exceeded our goals, so we are humming. It's a couple weeks away, a little less than 3 weeks as we sit and chat here, and we are so excited.
I think it's really exciting. So I haven't gotten a chance to play the course since the. Let me get the language right. Does membership and leadership here? You refer to it as a restoration, renovation. What is the proper way to refer to it?
I think the proper term is transformation.
Transformation.
So as you see the property, and if you've been to play the club, you'll understand. And if not, you get a kind of a glimpse behind us here if you're watching video. But as it's unveiled to the world on NBC here in a few weeks, you'll get to see the property and the work that Andrew Green and the team here has done to the golf course and the topography and the landforms is unbelievable. It's just remarkable.
So I did thank you. You just gave me a tour around the property, so I am able to speak to it, not having played it yet, but being able to see the kind of amazing transformation that you speak of. But let's kind of back up and start with the timeline. So when did it reopen?
Reopened about a year ago, June 13th, 2021. Okay. So got real lucky with timing, with COVID and everything, and as kind of the world came to a standstill and crept out of that, we were all systems go here, all hands on deck, completing construction. We started kind of in the fall of 19 and went through. We started on the back 9, worked our way through the front 9 and off property over on number 5, and we met every timeline that we had. The team did a remarkable job with under some really, really difficult circumstances, and as I said, membership couldn't be prouder of the product. It's really exciting.
So famously, Andrew Green did the transformation here. He's arguably the hottest golf course architect, working on all kinds of different projects. Worked on a couple other ones in the area.
Yeah.
Naval Academy, Eisenhower, the Public over in Anne Arundel.
Yes.
How did you land on Andrew Green?
Andrew's just a remarkable talent. One of the things that is, first of all, Andrew's done Oak Hill, Inverness. He just finished Scioto. He's doing work down at Indian Creek. So his work is amazing. What we loved about Andrew is his talent. He comes from the construction side. He'd volunteered and interned here for the 97 Open. And he and Pete, I think, our superintendent, had worked together for a brief period of time. And so he worked with the construction company for a period of time. His work speaks for itself. It's remarkable. But he lives about an hour away. So during the project, Andrew was here 3 days a week. So he really had his hands in the dirt. He was on tractors. He was walking up and down with backpacks and all the technology. As you play the golf course, you really get to feel that level of detail that you have from the hottest, as you said, architect in the business, not just coming in every couple weeks to monitor the work, but really shaping the work, getting his hands dirty, as I said, and that what they call fine shaping shows in the final product.
He did a lot here. You know, I wouldn't say I know the Congressional Blue Course like the back of my hand, but I played it a couple times before the transformation. It's almost, in some ways, it's unrecognizable, at least to what I know. I mean, there's not just, there's been a lot of talk about, there's a significantly less amount of trees on the property, but just the land movement and the bunkering and the greens and the areas between the greens and the tees. It looks unbelievably different.
Yeah, and it's hard to even describe or begin to describe, but it was a years-long process of understanding, okay, we wanted to, and I say we, the club, the members, really wanted to build a golf course that was built to succeed based on certain fundamentals that are fundamental to all golf courses and really take it back to the 20s and 30s and classic golf enduring architecture. It's not dissimilar to what you see across the country right now. It's just that our golf course probably had gotten so far away from that over the years that it feels really, really big, and it was a big job. So understanding how we get water to move off of playing surfaces, understanding how we open it up to airflow. You know, the Mid-Atlantic region is notoriously the hardest region to grow grass on in this country. And so if you don't set up the macro environment for the plant to grow, you know, you're not going to have great conditions. You're not going to be able to have good putting surfaces. Your fairways are going to be weak. Your rough is going to be weak. The areas around the greens are going to be thin. So how do you set up this macro environment where you have getting water off the playing surfaces, opening it up to sunlight, opening it up to airflow, and then, you know, how do you get to that classic golf architecture where the old architects didn't have these tractors and didn't have all the science and machinery that we have today? What they did was they kind of found the 18 high points around the property. They built the greens there and figured out how to build golf courses around it because they knew that set them up for success. And so you take that and you put in bunkering that feels like it's in the 1920s, fairways that have a ton of movement and uneven lies that feels like the 20s and 30s. You have these greens complexes that are wide, and they introduce the ground game. Yeah. They make the golfer think through their round, and it's so much more fun to play because it offers the general member many different options and many different ways to access different hole locations and play the golf course. But it's arguably way more challenging for tour players and better players because it gets them thinking, it gets their mind going, and then it introduces a little more wind. Yeah, and you just can't play the golf course single-dimensionally. So much goes into that, and I think Andrew captured it all extraordinarily well.
In a lot of what I've read and listened to about the transformation, I'm going to continue to use that terminology, was really more about the fact that you just alluded to, like over the years, maybe, you know, there's so much history here. There's so many, you know, great championships. Congressional is by far the most well-known on a national level, maybe global level in the DC area, right. But maybe the design had been passed by a little bit or maybe gotten a little bit stale. I don't know if that's the appropriate term to use. But it sounds like from what you're saying, was that drainage, had that become an issue?
Sure.
Like, were you getting wet fairways and stuff like that?
Yes, absolutely. And look, you have beautiful, gorgeous clubhouse that is recognizable. Like, there's very few clubhouses in golf you can say, where is that? Yeah. You show the world this, and most folks know, oh, that's Congressional Country Club. Right. But the weight of the golf course maybe didn't measure up to that. Maybe that's a great way to put it. And so now the golf course, as it sits, absolutely does in every way. So yes, fundamentals were off. Golf course's infrastructure needed upgrading, from irrigation to drainage to cart pass. All of that was in need of an upgrade that probably, you know, alludes to your facts. And the last time work had been done on the golf course was in the late 80s. So it was due. It was time. The conditions showed it. The feedback showed it. Classic golf showed it, and fundamentally, the environment just wasn't there on top of it all, right? A better way of explaining it to have it succeed.
Who in the late 80s, was that Reese Jones or was that someone different at that point?
The last architect on record when the redo happened was Reese.
It was Reese. But the list of names, we can kind of go through them a little bit, not just the blue, but also the gold. Yeah. I mean, it starts famously with Devereaux Emmett, who designed it originally. But what are some of the other names that are attached to Congressional Country Club?
I mean, Devereaux Emmett was the architect of record back. But keep in mind, the back nine as it sits now was purchased many years after the original 18 were opened. And then the outer nine was purchased years later. So the golf course was really Devereaux.
So where he designed 18 is not where the blue course is.
It's not. And really, it was really Reese who came in and redid it in the late 80s, like he did many golf courses. And here we are 30 years later with a real pull to get back to traditional and classic and enduring architecture, because fundamentally it's what feels right, it's what is exciting, and then also it allows the agronomics to be right so that we can have championship conditions for our members every day.
One, I don't know how well known this is or not, it may be more well known than I realize, but Devereaux Emmett's original design, both the first hole and the 10th hole were par 6s.
Yes. Yeah, and then
How long did that last?
I don't know, but we imagined the first and second now combined as a par 6, and it would be a really hard par 6. And then at some point, the par 6 ninth became a 4-3. So you finished as a par 3 on the front 9. So it had morphed a lot over the years. You know, Devereaux was famous for the inverted bunker that you still have at Garden City Men's Club. So can you imagine a sand dune right next to a green you'd have to play out of? So
I'd have to Google some pictures of that. I haven't seen it. I can't really wrap my head around that.
And one of the things that Andrew did is really neat is, look, we didn't have a game plan to go back to. Did go back to the Devereaux style, but one of the things Devereaux is really known for is these bunker clusters where he puts 5 or 6 or 7 bunkers together, smaller, and to make one big kind of, you will, great hazard.
Sure.
And if you noticed out on number 2, or you noticed out on 16, or even right behind us over here on 12, he kind of tips his cap to Devereaux in some of the really neat forms of the bunkers he does that kind of acknowledge that piece of history and his contribution to the game.
There are some other names. I mean, Donald Ross had some out
had
here,
a
right?
little bit of time out on the gold. Yeah, his 17th green is one of the favorite. 3rd and 17 are one of the favorite complexes for our members. Is the most recent architect on the gold course.
So Andrew Green, obviously, he's doing a lot of what he did was kind of nods to that old history and what Emmett designed. But since his was a totally different golf course, it's I mean, it really is a transformation because it's not restoring it to something. Why? Let me ask this a different way. Why don't you call it a renovation?
Because I think a renovation would denote you're creating something out of what you have. And when you come here, the property's so different. There wasn't a piece of dirt that wasn't moved significantly. You know, your high points are changed and your low points are back to where they were. And it really is, the best word to describe it really is transformation. It's not, and look, what's neat is, a bunch of Raiders out here, a bunch of people in the golf business, and they struggle to find the words for it. But I think everybody's kind of settled on this transformation. And when you hear it the first time, you know, it kind of settles. I mean, Kerry Haig, who's PGA of America's championship setup officer, and Kerry's, you know, world renowned as the best of the best. Just remember walking the property with him for the first time, and how excited he is, and him using that word organically. And we thought, yeah, you know, that's what we've all been talking about. You know, just it feels like the acreage out there has just been changed so much. It's been completely transformed and reinvigorated, and it's really exciting.
Yeah. I want to talk more about the actual course itself, but let's talk a little bit about. So give me the timeline of the agreement that Congressional Country Club has made with the PGA of America and the championships that are coming here for the next, I don't know how many years.
Yeah, okay, I don't have my notes in front of me here. There's 9, so okay. You know, I'm really tough. I'm not that smart, but I'm very tough. But so the women's KPMG PGA is in 22. We host the boys and the girls junior in 24. We host seniors in 25 and in 33.
Okay.
We host another women's in 27. In 29, we host the PGA's Professional National Championship, where all the PGA club professionals come in and compete. And then the highlights, other than the next KPMG Women's Champ, are obviously the PGA Championship scheduled for 2031, and then the Ryder Cup in 2037 is going to be maybe the biggest party at that point this region's ever seen.
I can't wait for that.
Yes.
Only 14 years away. But let me ask this. So that announcement with the PGA of America, that, I don't know how you refer to it, that agreement or deal with PGA of America, that happened in 2018.
Yes.
And can you shine a light on, I'm just, you know, I don't know anything about that process. Like, how does that come about? Is that years of negotiating with PGA of America? Like, how do you, I mean, that's a big deal.
These are really sensitive questions. I mean, yeah, it's a huge deal. But you know what, listen, it's a great question. And it needs to be answered. Because, look, this property and this club and this region hosts a lot of tournaments. Yeah. But this club wanted to be hosting championships. Yeah. And so we had lots of discussions with the USGA and lots of discussions with the PGA, and the membership, executive leadership of the club felt like they really wanted to bring major championship golf back to Congressional and wanted to host the Ryder Cup. And so, you know, the U.S. Open is an amazing event. But hosting a Ryder Cup for this region and hosting PGA Championship, which is an amazing tournament. It's the best field in golf.
Yeah.
It really is. And to see what the PGA has done. And then to also be able to give back to the game of golf through the women's championships, through the senior championships, hosting the junior championships to give back to our profession, the club professional championships, was something that just kept, it was something really, I guess, important to the club and really excited about it.
All the championships are extremely exciting, but the Ryder Cup on the distant horizon is just wildly exciting. It's interesting. It seems like the Ryder Cup. I've read a little about it, but like in the 60s, 70s, like maybe early 80s, it wasn't what it is today.
No,
I mean it was a big tournament. It was significant, but now it's arguably the biggest event in golf.
It was the player to be named later,
right?
When the tour split off. The PGA as an afterthought, I think, was like, hey, can we have that little Ryder Cup thing you're doing? And then it became huge, and then obviously Justin Leonard, I would have blown both shoulders out, sticking my arms up that high on the 17th at the Country Club with those shirts that he still talks about today. Excuse me. But that really got it on the map, and then it's just grown and grown and grown. The footprint for a Ryder Cup is about 1.5 times that of the PGA or US Open.
Yeah.
And if you've been to one of those championships and understand the square footage that is hospitality suites and grandstands, and it's amazing. It's just an amazing build out. It's an amazing championship. I mean, look, I had never been to a Ryder Cup before Hazeltine, and I think it was 16. And when I'm standing there on the first tee, freezing. I mean, I'm freezing. I'm from Miami, and I'm in Minnesota. I don't care what month it is. Like, I'm going to be cold. And I didn't have good seats. Like, I could barely see the top of the club during a backswing on one. And I'm thinking, I didn't realize it, but this is a bucket list item. First tee at the Ryder Cup. Magical. Just magical.
Yeah,
Can't wait for that to happen right behind us.
Yeah. No, it's incredibly excited. Well, let's talk a little bit about the history here, the championship history. Yeah. So there's been some big championships, major championships, big tournament golf here. And, the three majors, 64 Open, 97 Open, and 2011 Open. That was the one I was at.
Good work.
But they all three had, big-time winners.
Great champs.
Big-time stories.
Yeah, great.
Let's go through the three of them for a second. 1964 U.S. Open. It was I read it was a little warm.
Yeah, Ken Venturi. And listen, Ken Venturi is a great champ, a gentleman. We still have the Venturi Society here at the club that walks down 18 with a club that he uses and toasts him on the anniversary of his victory every year. So that's really exciting. And then you've got, and Ken, it's interesting, Ken Venturi's son, Matt, is still a very good friend of the club and a very good friend personally. I'll be out, played golf with him last year out in California.
Really?
And that family is still stayed very connected to the club. His victory here was extremely meaningful. We've, the club's done such a great job of honoring him over the years and in our history hall. Really special. I mean, that 64 Open, well documented, his physical condition, dehydration, almost passing out, not finishing, but then winning in the 36-hole match play final back then.
For folks that haven't read that, go Google that story of Ken Venturi winning the 64 Open, because he probably belonged in a hospital on the back nine on Sunday.
Stuff that
and ended up winning.
And what's great is Jim Nance, who's Kenny's longtime partner in the booth at CBS. Whenever Jim's in town, Jim will give us a call and I'll say, Jay, I'm coming over. I just want to walk the halls a little bit, see Kenny's stuff. I mean, Kenny really, I don't know if Jim I'm not going to share this, but he credits Kenny so much for helping him be the professional and broadcaster that he is today from his time at CBS early on in the booth with Kenny, and how much Kenny means to him. It just shows you what a gentleman he was. And then his family's fantastic. So couldn't be more proud to have him as a champion. Then you fast forward, you skipped the 76 PGA, Dave Stockton, and Dave was a great, and by the way, I think Dave made a 12-footer, but I was with Dave a couple weeks ago in Tulsa. We had breakfast and lunch with him, and one of the great gentlemen of the game. I mean, one of the great gentlemen of the game. I think the putt he made on 18 to win, he said he could hear people running through the forest to go for a playoff. No one thought he was going to make the putt, and he could hear the footsteps on the leaves, and it was distracting him, but he got himself focused. He made I think a 12-footer, but to hear him say it now, it's like it was a 40-footer. Keeps getting 2 feet longer.
And that was a one-stroke, so that 12-footer was
it. The win, and he drained it to win.
And that was 76. That was a bicentennial. The PGA came here.
Yes, tremendous. And then Ernie's victory, well documented, was the last time we had a champion finish on a par 3. So 18 was a par 3. back then. And then that was tremendous for Ernie, and obviously Ernie's, what he's given back to the game, and from his family and autism, we couldn't be more proud to have Ernie as a champ. And then boom, 2011, this young kid with long hair that was, not the most fit kid in the world, comes here and just, obliterates the field. And the last time, so it's interesting, we're sitting out here talking. The last time I had a conversation with someone right here out here overlooking the golf course was Rory. It was back just before COVID. We gave Rory an honorary membership. Cool. And was able to talk to him. And then during the Wells Fargo, he came out, get to drive him around a little bit, spend some time with him on his 33rd birthday, and spend about 3 hours with him out on the blue course. And
what was his take?
Just one word: phenomenal.
Yeah.
Couldn't get his head around it. Couldn't get his head around how awesome it was. And we took a putter out, rolled a few putts in between groups. He had done his practice that morning and played in the Pro-Am over at Avenel. And he couldn't believe how good it was. He was just looking around in amazement.
It's interesting you bring up Roy, because we're sitting here, we're overlooking the new number 10.
Yes.
Which, there's a lot of dramatic changes out here on the property, on the blue course, but it seems like 10 is the most dramatic change. And Rory at the 2000, I still have it. On the cover of Sports Illustrated was his shot, because he hit it to like 2 feet or something on 10.
That was it.
And that was kind of the nail in the coffin,
That's
because
right.
he was, I don't know how much he was up by, but 7 or 8 strokes.
Yeah.
And just a tap and birdie on 10.
That was it.
So I'm curious if Rory was like, oh, you took away my...
No, he was amazing. He loved it. He walked down to that green's really interesting. And we just saw...
It's just such a different hole, but it's gorgeous.
We just saw a make for a 3 on the par 3. Saw one in the water, re-tee, jar it for a 3. But it's a really, really neat hole. Kind of in a peninsula green here, no real place to bail out. And what Andrew's done with the par 3s is you're not going to have the same club in your hand on any of the par 3s. You've got one that's about 140 yards, you've got a 160, you've got a 180, and then you've got number 2, which is uphill all you can need at about 205 from the gold tee. So
yeah, no, it looks fantastic. 18. Just standing up here on this veranda. One of the things as you and I kind of cruise around the property is the sight lines and the views and the vistas are really impressive. Yes. You can see clear across the property. It's absolutely gorgeous. A lot of trees have been removed, and one of the things I wanted to ask you about is, we talked about it as we were driving around. Tree removal is it can be a controversial topic, not congressional necessarily, but just in the golf world. But because people there's different attitudes towards tree removal.
Sure.
I think I want you to talk about it a little bit, but I think it seems to me that more classical golf architecture and talk to a lot of superintendents, they tend to side on the less trees is better and better for the grass and more appealing of a golf course.
Yeah, exactly right. I don't even have to answer that question, because you're exactly right. Look, I love trees, and there's something very serene and peaceful, and so it's not about a love tree, don't like tree thing.
Sure.
It's basic agronomy. And
yeah.
When you have, you got to have sunlight, you got to have airflow, you got to have that movement to have great conditioning. And the golf courses that don't have sunlight and don't have airflow and that are choked, they don't have championship conditioning. And then you take the way the golf courses looked and felt in the 20s and 30s, they were open. They did have a lot of movement. They had to, because they didn't have, like I said earlier, they didn't have the science and the machinery to be able to care for it. And so you're not really setting yourself up for success. So our tree removal had, and by the way, we worked hand in hand with the county and multiple agencies on a daily basis to ensure what we were doing here was responsible, to make sure the trees we were moving out of the different easements were done to absolutely the proper manner. And so as we went through that, we wanted the golf course to be set up for success in the long term, to feel that like it was in the 20s and 30s. And we wanted to have championship conditioning for the members every day and host these championships. So, kudos to Andrew, kudos to the team here that pulled it off, and to the membership for being able to be able to push to that excellence.
What's also interesting, but is your timeline, the fact that the announcement of all of these tournaments,
right,
which is the most exciting thing in golf in this area, maybe ever, is just these next 8 or 9 tournaments. But that deal was made before the transformation. So that's a leap of faith by the PGA of America.
Sure. Yeah, but this club carries a ton of weight, and I think the club had that's where relationships are so important. And as you're building relationships with the PGA or the USGA, and we're very close with the USGA as well. And there's some great people there. And we just had Mike Davis and Tom O'Toole played last week, and we're absolutely blown away by the property. So it wasn't like sometimes you hear in our business, our USGA course or PGA course. Look, we're here for the game of golf. We want to give back to the greater community. We want the DC area to have, Andrew grew up here, and he'll tell you that this, if there's 2 courses in the world he could get, I won't tell you the other one, but this was one. And he said because growing up, this was his major championship venue. Right. This was the first taste he had of major championship golf. This was the first time he saw golf on that stage, and it inspired him to do what he's doing today. So that was our inspiration, and it's exciting to see it come to life.
One question I want to ask, especially locally here, but it was really well documented. Originally, Congressional hired a different golf course architect named Keith Foster, who had a great reputation in the game and does great work. And I don't want to dwell on it, but I'm just curious. And folks can Google. He got arrested for something not golf related, but making that change after you've kind of sold to the membership. The change that's going to happen, and then having and that happened after the agreement with PGA of America, right? I mean, then having to pivot to Andrew Green. Well, I mean, was that challenging?
How many golf courses have 2 world-class architects that work on it? Like, how great is that? No, just to be clear, look, the design is Andrew's. Right. These are Andrew's plans, Andrew's vision. Andrew walked the golf course. When we engaged Keith, he's had some concepts and so forth, but this is an Andrew Green golf course. We couldn't be more blessed to have him. I mean, Keith is a wonderful architect and has done great things. And one of my favorite golf courses is up in Philadelphia, the Wissahickon Golf Course at Philly Cricket Club. But we couldn't, having Andrew is a blessing. And the work he's done here, the work he continues to do around the country shows it. This is remarkable.
What is your official title here?
I am the PGA Director of Golf and Athletics.
That should have been my first question.
Yeah, listen, that's okay. So I'm a golf pro. I mean, look, I'm a golf pro that I oversee a little bit more than that at the club. Aquatics, bowling, tennis.
I was unaware there's a bowling. There's a bowling alley?
We have duck pin bowling, which gets a little dangerous at 11 at night. But we have duck pin bowling. We have I do fitness, retail. I spend most of my time in golf. My office is right behind the golf shop. I'm a golf pro. We've got some great, talented individuals and leaders here, and so it's just it's such a great club, such a great spot.
You've been here how long?
Just over 6 years.
So what's your bet? You mentioned you grew up in
I grew up in Miami.
South
Florida, yes.
What are some of your stops in your golf career?
So great question. So I went to college and played college golf at New Mexico State University. Okay. Some of you will know the name of Rich Beam. Rich Beam is a roommate of mine, continues to be a good friend. Played a lot of golf together. Went from Miami to spent about 3 years in Bermuda. So I was at Tucker's Point Club in Bermuda, where I ran the club there. A really neat spot. Encourage everybody to go visit Bermuda. It's a great spot with great people. And then I spent 5 years back in New Mexico at a club called the Club at Las Campanas, 2 Nicklaus signature golf courses. Great club, great membership, beautiful place. Santa Fe is a must-go visit. I mean, really, really peaceful, lots of history. I'm going to get off the topic here. Please. 3rd largest art market in the United States, and only 80,000 people live there. So a lot of culture, a lot of really neat history in Santa Fe. If you're ever out that way, stop by.
I've been a couple times. Beautiful town.
It's beautiful. And then so to here. And I'd never been to Maryland before I came to interview for the job here. First time in Maryland.
So you told me that when we were driving around. But
that's kind of wild.
Yeah. Can you shed any light on that process? Like, how do you? I mean, this is. I would imagine. I'm not in the industry, but I would imagine this is a pretty prestigious job.
Yeah, you basically see the job and you're like, okay, I'm sitting in Santa Fe, New Mexico. They're never like, I have no chance.
How did they hire a director of golf who'd never seen the course before, had barely ever been in the area?
Yeah, I didn't apply for the job. I had a recruiter call me like the day it closed, and he's like, hey, what do you think about this job? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, I think your skill set would be great for what they need. I know you. You have a great you'd be great. He's like, I'm like, all right. You think so? You're running the search. I'll do it. He's like, all right, I need this from you in like 3 hours. And he sent me 15 questions that turned into about 12 pages of just random typing. And by the way, right after I got off the phone with him, the fire alarm, there was a fire out at the club in New Mexico. Everything was fine. There's a boiler in the locker room, caught fire. So I'm literally sitting in the parking lot typing these questions and my kind of thoughts on building a team. And
the fire alarm going on in the background.
Oh my gosh, you can't imagine. So had a few interviews, did a great job, and my gosh, the first time I drove into the club, I was shaking. Like, I was so nervous for the interview. I don't even know how I got through the interview, and then coming back, realizing, oh my gosh, they're actually inviting me back here. And so when I came back with my wife Tina, the East Coast is where we grew up. She's spent time between Boston and Miami growing up, and so for me, this is great. My family here, they love this area. My kids would, they want to be here forever. We've got established some deep roots here already in 6 years. Kids love school, and it's just there.
One of the ways you and I got connected, although I don't think we actually chatted the evening of the event or banquet, was at the Mid-Atlantic PGA Awards ceremony just a couple months ago, where you got awarded the Bill Strausbaugh Award, which is, tell us a little bit about what that award. Yeah, it's coaching, mentoring young professionals in the business and some of them out of the business. It's a, coach, they call him coach. I'm sure most of your listeners are familiar with coach. It's very humbling to win that award, but look, they're not going to put a statue of me out in front of the club here, right? Our legacy lives in the future of the folks that we invest in, period, full stop. And so the more we can do to empower, coach, lead, and help young individuals achieve their dreams, whether it's in golf, some of them it's outside of golf. It's, hey, we're going to work here for a few years, learn a skill set and leadership. The more that we can invest and take time to give back, I think that help. It's a responsible and very proud thing to do. So I was lucky enough that a couple of my peers, one of them, Bob Dolan at Columbia, nominated me for the award, and Bob worked for coach, and winning that guest
award
on this podcast.
Yeah, Bobby's great. Bobby's great. He's another one you ask 3 questions to, and you're done in like 50 minutes. But Bob's the best. Bob's a legend. He's an icon. And I told Bob, I said, look, I don't even have to win this award. The fact that you nominated me for this award means the world to me. And that was a great night. And look, the work that you've done to bring the game of golf to your listeners here on the pod was amazing. It's amazing. And congratulations on that as well, your award.
I appreciate that very much.
But did you get a really nice Rolex?
I think it must have got lost in the mail. But there was a piece of and maybe I read this wrong, but I was going to use it as a segue. But was that? But there's a community aspect to that award.
Yeah.
And how I was going to segue was that we were just talking about, I just did a podcast over Memorial Day weekend about PGA Hope and some of the work they're doing with veterans and Patriot Golf Days they did over Memorial Day. But in that podcast, it actually was brought up that the flagship chapter of PGA Hope in the Mid-Atlantic is Congressional Country Club.
Yeah, it's so great to work with the veterans, and got to tell you, like, the most rewarding work that we do, it's not even close. And we host PGA Hope classes during the year. Congressional, as part of our relationship with the PGA, maybe the neatest thing about it is not the Ryder Cup. It's the fact that every year we host their annual week of wellness that brings in 20 PGA Hope members from around the country. They kind of work them through a 4-day program that make them ambassadors, so they can go back and help veterans in their own communities. And they go through wellness training, they go through mental health training. We get to teach them golf here. Our staff goes down to East Potomac and works with them. They play a golf tournament here, we treat them like members. Like, we put their names on the lockers, we have them come down, and we give them all the swag. And to see the effect it has both on those veterans, but also the veterans that are from the DC area that come out to participate in our 6 and 8 week programs, it's amazing. When someone tells you that the program that you started and that you're working in has saved their life, it is amazing. We had Matt Underwood, one of the veterans. He stopped by. He called me yesterday and came by yesterday, and we went down to the range and hit, and we treat them like family, and the impact they have, believe me, the impact they have on us and our team, who, by the way, we do it, it's a volunteer time. We're happy to do it. We have too many people. Right. But the impact it has on us is far greater than the impact that we have on them. I'm sure of it.
I'm sure that's saying something.
It's amazing. It's amazing. That opportunity is amazing. So supporting your veterans. Look, I never served. My dad did. My parents used to threaten me with military school growing up. I wasn't.
Ditto on all 3 of those statements.
But I got to tell you, to see what these families and to see what they sacrifice for our country even the ones that come, even those veterans that come back and what they've seen and what they've been through, and to be able to put a smile on their face through a game that we all enjoy, we all fail at, we all have success at, and to listen to their stories and to be able to be a part of that, there's nothing better than that. Nothing better.
So let's talk just a little bit about the actual KPMG LPGA Championship. So we're 3 weeks away.
Yes.
You know, I'm staring back out at kind of the front nine here.
Yeah.
One of the real benefits, you know, there's a lot of different things to talk about, but about the sight lines now is for galleries.
Yes.
And for watching tournaments, you can now see a ton.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's the hole you're standing on. There's a couple grandstands up. Are we just getting going? Are there going to be a lot more grandstands being put up?
No, the build out for most of the PGA's championships, other than the PGA Championship and the Ryder Cup, is relatively benign. I think their philosophy is, hey, use the hills and let spectators kind of use the natural topography to look. We have a grandstand on 1. We have a grandstand behind us here, the KPMG Pavilion on 18, and then we have 2 smaller grandstands on 17, and that's it. We'll have some restrooms and a few refreshment spots around the golf course. And one of the benefits, right, of having a clubhouse that's almost 200,000 square feet is that the hospitality and some of that can be all hosted here, and the build out isn't so significant, so you're going to get a really natural golf experience, and it'll look like it on TV. So
does that mean that I'm trying to remember, I've been to a couple of the, I was about to say, was the last tournament I was out here was the 2011 US Open? Couldn't have been. Some of the Quicken Loans Nationals and AT&T
Yes.
Nationals I was out here for.
Yes.
But some of the bigger tournaments, you don't really get anywhere near the clubhouse. I mean, is that still going to be the case, or is it?
Correct. There's a hospitality. There are hospitality tickets for the clubhouse. The grounds tickets. You will be able to use the golf shop. So the golf shop will be open for merchandise sales. So that'll be right inside the golf shop. So anyone with just a grounds ticket will be able to come in the golf shop for sales. Yeah.
So it's not like a totally separate, massive merchandise.
It's not. It's all. That's cool. That's going to be. We'll be real busy, and we'll have a few extra registers. But we want everybody who's coming to the tournament absolutely to come in the shop and take a keepsake with them.
What about for spectators? You know, have you found, since the transformation, what have been the holes that are really, tough scoring holes, and are there some that you think might give the ladies some trouble?
Golf is a hard game. Like any one of these holes can sneak up on you. The greens complexes are so interesting. You get on the wrong side, and look, golf's hard for everyone. But I feel like 1 is kind of a, hey, welcome to Congressional. 2, 3, and 4, like they wake you up in a hurry. 2, 3, and 4 wake you up. And if you're going to score on this golf course, you've got to do it on 5 through 12, maybe 13, the par 3, because 14 through 18 is, if you can get through there level par, even 1 over, you've accomplished something. 14 through 18, especially the tees are back. Maybe we get a little rain, and Andrew's done a fantastic job of creating movement in the fairways and getting lots of roll. But it gets a little wet. It plays a lot longer. Those are 5 strong finishing holes. So you got to do your work here, 5 through 12, 5 through 13.
One of the things,
and I'll just say to you too, going back to the KPMG. I would encourage, for anyone with a young family member, and especially, a daughter, it is such a great event because you go to a PGA Tour event, there's a wall between the players and the spectators, an absolute wall. Whereas at these events, there's heightened security, and there's definitely zones you can't go, and we should all pay attention to the roped areas. But they are so much more approachable. There's not one. I was at Atlantic Athletic Club. They hosted the KPMG last year, and I didn't see one player not sign an autograph for a young person that wanted an autograph. They're so approachable. They do a great job with the fans. They're accessible, and they have beautiful golf swings. And look, they hit their hybrids and 3-wood straighter than I do my wedges. And they're fantastic.
Are there practice rounds that'll be open to the public or no?
The hospitality, yes, but from a ground standpoint, I think it's Wednesday through Sunday.
Wednesday through Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay. The last thing I want to mention, and maybe I'll edit this and stick it back in the middle of the conversation, but what Andrew did between some of the greens and the next tee box, not just making the proximity close, but the way that it's all flows together, and some of the mowing, like the way it's all mowed together, where it's like, where does the last hole to the next tee box begin, is really unusual and striking. I think it looks fantastic.
Those transitions are great. They're, again, another really neat feature of kind of these great classic golf courses. You'll find, Shinnecock has several of those. and you just your feet never hit the rough here or high grass if you play well until you're going from 3 to 4, and so the same thing happens here on the back nine. You don't really hit rough until perhaps you're going from 15 green to 16 tee. It's these natural walk-offs, because these connections on these classic golf courses, and Ross was very famous for them specifically, was the tee was very close to the green. So you played golf, you walked off 20, 30 steps, really wasn't in the line of play or sight, really wasn't in play. You walked off, you put your tee in the ground and kept going. It was a game that was meant to be walked. It was, we didn't have golf cars in the 20s and 30s when these were being designed. And so that was a really neat that he's integrated into play. And then the other feature that you noticed that you picked up on specifically on too was some of them, you don't even know where the tee's cut. You've got this level area that looks like the tee's cut in a fairway, but it is a proper tee.
It wasn't that I picked up on it. It was I was like, where's the tee?
You saw it. You're like, hey, where's the tee there? So that the tees are cut into the fairways that you'll see at a lot of older golf courses. So that is another kind of neat feature that Andrew implemented.
I know we got to cut it here soon. We're going a little bit long, but I'm also looking at across the veranda here, beyond the first fairway.
Yes.
There's a new building being built over there in the corner, which I believe I know what it is, but tell us what that is.
That's so exciting. That's kind of been this vision that we brought to reality, and the membership is just going to be over the moon about that building. There's been so much energy effort, just as much of the golf course, into that building. It's going to be 8,000 square feet, 6 bays, state-of-the-art Zen putting stage, putt view, TrackMan in every bay. We'll have Swing Catalyst in there, a couple simulators inside. It's just going to be the state-of-the-art performance center for the members to improve their games, diagnostics, and it's going to be fun. Golf is moving to this experiential mode, right? You'd see it with Top Golf, you see it with 5-iron golf, you see it, people's times are crunched, but how can we go out and enjoy and engage? And that's how, the next generation and probably the generation after that are going to kind of learn golf and enjoy golf. So having that kind of modern golf experience here for our members is so exciting, Can't wait. We're only about 3 months away there. So
it's interesting. That's been a trend in golf for a few years now. You see them popping up everywhere, but to see a classic, traditional, big time club, adopted is.
How does that look?
Cool to see.
How does it look?
From here, it looks fantastic.
Yeah,
I'll have to ask for the tour later.
Yeah, I'll give you full diagnostics.
When is it scheduled to open?
In August.
In August.
I think we're going to be ready to go.
Well, I think we can leave it there.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Very excited. I want to get the dates right here. June, tell me the dates.
June 23rd to 26th.
23rd
Thursday.
to 26th.
We're as we sit here, we are just under 3 weeks away from the opening tee shop. Really exciting.
Can't wait. Thank you so much for carving out some time and joining the podcast. It's a pleasure to chat with you and get to know you.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Alex. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I don't have a good golf game, but I don't really care. I'm a regular dude living in DC. And I want to know about DC-centric golf stuff. If you can tell me something that I don't already know, then that is great for me. I don't want the regular stuff. I want exciting stuff. I want different stuff. I want stuff I can't hear elsewhere. But I want it to be about DC golf.